I'm making this video to ask for your help. I've been falsely accused of a crime when I was simply trying to protect our community. And now I'm facing possible felony charges and up to 3 years in prison. On May 30th in La Mesa, just 5 minutes from my house in the very next town, 2 banks burned down in riots. And I was there that night. I heard something was going on with rioting. I drove over there and I just stayed in my car and drove into town. And I saw people smashing windows and lighting fires. So I started getting worried about, well, what about my town here? Are we going to be next? You know, is our town going to burn? And it turned out I wasn't the only one worried about that. So I started talking to some neighbors and we started talking about what can we do to protect our community. And so we organized the neighborhood watch group. And sure enough, pretty soon we started to have gang members from LA coming into town because there was some talk on the media about how our rural town was racist. I grew up here. I can tell you we are not a racist town. I haven't run into racists. I just didn't grow up with that. And so people were showing up in town, no license plates on their cars, late at night, screaming through town, yelling out profanities, and all of a sudden our town was under attack. One night there were 3 cars that rolled right into town. 2 of them were SUVs, and they had men on the outside hanging on to the outside of the cars. They drove through town, dressed all in black, masks, hats, carrying sticks. And they started smashing car windows. And I heard a report that somebody got attacked right on the sidewalk. Well, shortly after that, about 9 o'clock at night, I was driving home, going through town, and I see an SUV that matches the description exactly of one of the cars from that night. And it's packed full of people, and it's creeping through town really slow. And I thought, this is suspicious. You know, it just didn't feel right, and it matched the description. So I followed from a few blocks behind, and all of a sudden 2 other cars joined it. So now there's 3 cars out there being really suspicious. Well, they must have seen I was following because they made a U-turn right in the middle of the road. And then a couple blocks later, they turned down a little side street. And I couldn't tell until I got around the corner, but about 30 feet into that street, they had the road blocked right in front of me, just waiting for me around the corner. So I turned around the corner and I stopped immediately. Now this is a major road into a little side street at night when it's dark. I could not back up onto the major road. It was on a curve itself, and I was on a little dark side street, and I would have endangered people out there on the main street backing up, and I just sat there frozen. I didn't know what to do. Then all of a sudden, a guy hopped out of one of those cars and came right up to my car window with his hand under his shirt, like in his waistband, and I thought, this guy's gonna pull out a gun and shoot me. Well, about a year ago, I started the application process to carry a weapon myself because I provide security for my company. A lot of times I'm carrying around a lot of cash and I need to have a gun on me for security. So I had a gun in the bag on the seat next to me, and I just grabbed that and put it on my lap just to be ready. You know, I didn't want to escalate anything, but I also didn't want to get shot. So I'm sitting there in this dilemma. This guy's right there at my window and I can't back up and I can't go forward because I got the road blocked. And I just took the risk and backed up. I decided I just have to get out of here. This is no good. So right away I got on my walkie-talkie app to my neighborhood watch group and I said, somebody needs to call the cops. I'm a little busy right now. And I backed up right into the main road. And I heard cars honking as they whizzed past me. I tried to keep as tight to the curb as I could. Fortunately, nobody crashed into me, but that was risky. Anyway, I got about a half block away, just enough distance where I knew if he shot at me, I'd probably be all right. And I waited for the cops to arrive, maybe 6 minutes or so. And they came flying in. And as soon as they got there, I thought they were gonna stop everything, check out these guys, see if they were armed, see what was going on, get to the bottom. No, you know what happened? The guy yells out to the cops and he says, he's got a gun. So the cops arriving on scene, they don't know who good guy, bad guy is, they don't know what's going on, they just say, oh, he's got a gun. So they pull out their AR-15s and they point them at me and start yelling commands. Pretty soon I'm out there in the street on my knees and they're arresting me. And sure enough, I do have a gun on me. It doesn't look good for me, right? So I figured, okay, no problem. I'm comfortable dealing with law enforcement. I've volunteered for the San Diego Police Department for 5 years. And we'd go out on all kinds of crazy calls, death calls. Somebody dies, you know, go out there and really support the family emotionally and be with people. And I was a social worker in a volunteer program through the police department. So I figured I'm going to explain to these guys, you know, it's no problem, they'll get it. So they took me to the station. I said, hey, here's what's going on. I'm in a neighborhood watch group. I know it doesn't look good, you know, I had a gun on me, but I'm licensed to. Here's my license. Here's my concealed carry permit, you know. and explained to them everything that happened. They got it. They understood. They said, you know, we might cite you, but we're going to, you know, I could tell they were going to let me walk. Well, those two deputies I was working with went and talked to the sergeant. Now, I hadn't talked to the sergeant. He didn't talk to me. I didn't have a chance to explain to him anything about what was going on. All he knew was the guy had a gun and he was accused of pointing it at another guy. Now, the detail you should know about is I mentioned that we had been called a racist town. Well, although we're not, here's a scenario. Guy with white skin with a gun, accused of pointing the gun at a guy with black skin. That was the other guy that made the call and said, he pointed a gun at me. So that's the scenario, and I can understand for the sheriff, it would not look good to let me walk. So I gotta wonder if it's really all about the political environment. You know, maybe that's what really happened, because the facts don't stand up. You know, I got recordings on my app where I show I'm just in a community neighborhood watch group of, I am not an aggressor here, you know? But yet, I got booked downtown, and the sergeant made the call that I never talked to, and he said, you're gonna book that guy downtown. I got taken to jail, and I had to bail out. Jail was $20,000. And I had to pay a bail bondsman just to get out, so I wasn't in there indefinitely. So now I'm in this situation facing criminal charges. I'm working as much as I can, you know, more than 40 hours a week, and I'm a single father of 2 boys. I love my country, and I contribute to the community. I do what I can, and I have to tell you, I'm in a tough spot, and I don't know how I'm going to pay my legal fees. So I'm asking for your help, and I'm asking for a contribution of $25, which will go a long way toward getting me out of the situation that I'm in right now. And I want you to know any amount helps. Of course, you're welcome to give more. Of course, you're welcome to give less. I really appreciate it, and I want you to know, from my heart to yours, just as a fellow community member and someone that really this could happen to anyone, I just want you to know I really appreciate any contribution you can make. Thank you very much.